Hello and welcome to another Pauper video. I'm Kalikaiz. Today we're doing Decks of the Week. This is going to be checking out the Pauper leagues, what happened, what was doing well, what the metagame looks like, and then really diving into the spice. And we do have some pretty sweet ones, along with some changes to existing decks, which I think are pretty cool as well. Before we get into it, a little housekeeping. Remember, there's Patreon sideboard guides on patreon.com/Kalikaiz. You can get early access to videos on the YouTube membership. You should make sure to like and subscribe. And then, of course, there is a Pauper 1K happening on April 27th in Philadelphia. That is $1,000 in prizes. I believe it's probably store credit, but that actually goes up if they get more than 25 players. So if you want to get there and play some Paper Pauper in Philadelphia on April 27th, check out the link in the description below. So what's going on in Pauper right now? Well, things haven't changed too much. This actually is going to be covering 2 weeks of leagues, which, because I missed a week, so we have 294 total trophies, which is 147, maybe? I don't know. I think that's correct. Don't count me on it. 147 trophies average, which was kind of on par. And the most trophy deck was mono red at 13.9%. We see sort of a flattening of the metagame, which is interesting over the 2 weeks. So maybe less spikes. Maybe it's better to do every 2 weeks. Second most played, most trophy deck was Dimir Fae. And then Jun Glee, then Affinity, then Mono Blue Fae, then Black Green Glee. We had, let's see how many one-ofs. 10 one-ofs, and then a few newer decks that actually had multiple wins, multiple 5-0s, which is cool. We had 11 dredges, and actually almost half of them, or a good chunk of them, were mono red dredge, which is an up-and-coming version of the dredge list. And there's going to be a new dragon looting creature or rummaging creature that will work now in the new, after the new set releases. Sorry about that. My mind got crazy. So if we look at the combined metagame, all I did was combine the Glee combo. Glee combo at 13%, or about 13%, mono red at about 14%. Doesn't change it too much. Seems people are very, very hard targeting Glee. I know I tried to play Glee in a league and it was a little bit more difficult than previous times. We do have the all formats ban announcement coming up on Monday the 31st. So I don't know if the Pauper format panel will or wants to say anything on the same time, but sometimes in the past they have said things at the same day. So maybe they will give us some changes. So if you want to talk about bans, I guess, and unbans, let me know what you think in the comments. So why don't we just hop into what the cool decks of the week were. So first, I wanted to check out familiars. This was Bongo 411. This basically was the same list that Tart was playing. Let's zoom in. But they have Cut on One God Pharaoh's Faithful, and they have, Snuff Out, Ghostly Flicker, Ephemerate. I think they cut a Seagate Oracle for a Cleric in the main deck. I'm not entirely sure. Or the 4th Mulldrifter. It's a very powerful deck. I faced them and I was like, how did you fit all these cards in this deck? Second deck I wanted to check out was Burn from Ewerb. So this player decided to play Gitu Lava Runner in the deck, which is a 1/2. And if there are 2 or more instant or sorcery cards in your graveyard, it gets +1/+0 and has haste. So they're really looking at, I have 8 Goblin Tomb Raiders in my deck. They have 17 spells, so it seems like it's relatively easy to turn on, but it's not really a turn 1 play necessarily. I guess it can really increase the damage output and has more big butts. So we have these, Bushwhacker, Tomb Raider, Epicure. They're also playing Village Messenger. Hopefully you can see that okay. It says, if no spells were cast last turn, transform the creature. So that's up to 10 2/2 haste creatures, which is kind of wild. So it's an interesting list. I wanted to check it out. Next list is 4 Colors Sacrifice. This is the mono black sack, but this player is splashing for Temur Battle Rage off of all of their different treasures, and they have a Singleton Rancor, as well as 2 Snuff Outs in the main deck. That's kind of weird. They're also splashing for Dispel and Weather the Storm in the sideboard, plus 2 more Snuff Outs. So, and with, let's see. Yeah, they're just doing it off of all of the treasures, plus the Deadly Disputes. So they have 4 Disputes, 3 Freebooter, and 4 Shambling Ghast. So that is 11 way to make treasures. We have Raptor 56 just crushing people in leagues. He ended up with 4 trophies from this Jund Glee, which is essentially my black, green, red Glee deck. He's playing a singleton Black Dragon Gate, but instead of playing Chrysalis in the main deck, he's playing 4 Malevolent Rumble. So this is more like a black-green Glee in the main, which is pretty interesting. Sideboarding 3 Writhing Chrysalis. So if there's a specific matchup where you think it's better, you can bring it in. That makes sense. We have a Mardu Affinity from, no, this is Mardu Synthesizer. It's just Mardu. There's no synthesizer at all. Mardu Wildfire. Okay, there we go. I got it. But they're playing 4 Pactile Terror, Glenhawk Refurb. It's kind of like Orzhov Blade, but wildfiery. But it's interesting to see Pactile Terror making such a big statement where it's one of the best things to be playing. We're going to be playing black because of it. So Terror, Refurb, Glenhawk is a pretty strong package, along with Wildfire Dispute. They also have 4 Galvanic Blasts and 3 Cast Downs. Here is a Poison Storm list from Cosmic Charles. So this is very different from the list that I normally play, and we can kind of go over it. He did have a video, which you can check out on his channel. I believe it's just Cosmic Charles on YouTube. So he's playing 4 Roots, 4 Plan, and so no Steady Progress, 4 Augury, 4 Insight. So that's 16 proliferation spells. But it also has 2 Teach by Example, which is a copy spell. For blue, you cast it, the next spell you play, it gets copied. That sort of pseudo goes up to 18, and then 2 Merchant Scroll. So he has pseudo 20 proliferation spells. And then with 1 Prologue and 4 Infectious Inquiry, plus the 2 Teach and the 2 Merchant Scrolls, it's like 9 or 10 poison spells, sort of. So that is how he's trying to add consistency. It's very interesting, and the deck seems quite strong. Not playing any Lotus Petals, still just 17 lands. So the Thirsting Roots are doing a lot of work because you can proliferate or search your library for a basic land. 1 Forest, 4 Woodlot. Yeah, and then he's got also 4 Manamorphose in the deck. So you can basically change your mana from red into green and cast the Thirsting Roots and stuff like that. Also playing an Out Cold in the sideboard. This spell can't be countered. Tap up to 2 target creatures and put 1 stun counter on each of them and investigate. So that's kind of a way to deal with big creatures. We have a Boros deck from Sequel. And at first I thought this was Boros Bully, but it's really just Boros Gates. They're playing 4 Basilisk, 4 Boros, 4 Citadel Gate, and 4 Cliff Gate with 5 planes. Basically a mono white deck playing Novice Inspector, Sacred Cat, Raven Inspector, and then 4 of Outlaw Medic. So they have 4 and 4, 8 total lifelink creatures. 2 Inspiring Overseer, 1 Squad Rallier. It says, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You can reveal a creature card with power 2 or less from among them and put it in your hand, put the rest on bottom of your library in any order, and it's an activated ability. It's kind of like just a reusable Militia Bugler, which is neat. And then they have 4 Lightning Bolt, 4 Raven Charm, 4 Prismatic Strands, 4 Journey to Nowhere. It's very like clean as far as the deck goes. Lots of 4-ofs, very little different fancy stuff. They have a Navigation Orb in the sideboard, which I've maybe never even seen before. Search your library for up to 2 basic lands or gate cards. Reveal them. Put 1 on the battlefield, 1 in your hand. Okay, cool deck. Mono White Heroic here from Debus. So this one is funny because they actually have punked a couple people out. The way this deck works is they are playing Mono White Heroic. You know, you've got your Laguna Band and your Akron Skyguard. Whenever they're targeted, you get a +1/+1 counter on them if you are the one that casts that spell. But Laguna Band has a very large toughness, and you can combine that with things that give it vigilance, like Homestead Courage or Sentinel's Eyes, and then add solid footing onto it. It's a flash enchantment that gives it +1/+1. And if it has vigilance, it deals damage equal to its toughness. So they're coming in just real hard with that. Cartouche of Solidarity also gives it vigilance. And I don't think Hyena Umbra does. No. And then they have Armored Armadillo, which is kind of neat. It you can flip its toughness onto its power, and it has Ward 1. It's just pretty cool. So we have another Tron list from WA19. This is basically mono green Tron, but they have 2 Suffocating Fumes in the main deck and 3 cast down, 2 Extract to Confession in the sideboard. I think that's a pretty cool way to do it because, you know, Extract to Confession is quite good versus Bogles, and then cast down for Glee, I could see. The cool parts about this deck is it's basically a life gain deck. Or Boulder Branch Golem, which gains 6 life when it ETBs. Brambleworm is a recent downshift, and it gains you 5 life, and you can also exile from a graveyard to gain 5 life. You have Wretched Griff and Maelstrom Colossus, and then Maul Splicer gives your golems trample, which is so sweet. They have 2 Tranquility for Bogles. Neat. Okay, moving up on the spiciness, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is top 5. Mono Red Dredge from Natalino91. They're playing, so it's like 14 Mountains and 4 Lotus Petal. I had not seen that they were playing Lotus Petals, but they've got Sneaky Snacker, Molten Gatekeeper. So one of the craziest things with this Gatekeeper build is that you can all of a sudden unearth a bunch of Gatekeepers and then bring all your Scrapwork mugs back, and you're just pinging like crazy off the Gatekeepers. And then you can also really disrupt your opponent with Burning Inquiry. Each player draws 3 and discards 3 at random. And then a lot of ways to dredge with pitching cards to Faithless, Looting, and Cathartic Reunion, which is 3 Dread Return, 3 Giant. And the sideboard has 3 Brown Scale for life gain. Okay, getting crazier. This might not look crazy, it might just look like red-green ramp, but it is black-green ramp. So they're playing the regular shell, and instead of playing Writhing Chrysalis, they're playing Fetid Gargantua. It's a 4/4 for 5 mana, and it adapts for 2 and a black, which would put 2 +1/+1 counters on it. And whenever 1 or more counters are put up, +1/+1 counters are put on it, you may draw 2 cards. If you do, you lose 2 life. So you can have your 4/4 in play, and then reinforce it with the Bannerhide, or scavenge onto it with the Bannerhide and draw more cards. And I think that that's really strong in this deck that runs out of action, but has a lot of mana. So you're just going to keep drawing cards, which is really cool. And then they have 2 Snuff Outs in the main deck and 2 Snuff Outs in the sideboard, which is much better than playing something like Ram Through if you're trying to face a Glee deck. Next here is Turbo Fog by Ritual Sinkhole. And this almost was my spiciest list, but it didn't make it. But this is just blue-green fog playing black for 3 Deadly Dispute, 3 Viscer's Insight, and 1 Reckoner's Bargain, and then 3 Ichor Wellspring, which is just crazy. They have a Sneaky Snacker to sacrifice to the Deadly Disputes. They have 4 Muldrifters, which they can evoke and then Deadly Dispute, which is kind of sick. And then 2 Colony Gardens. Other than that, not a lot of dispute targets, but it's got a lot going on. And they have 11 Moment's Peace and Weatherstorm effects in the deck, in the main. So they have 11 removal spells in the sideboard. 4 Cast Down, 4 Snuff Out. Oh, this isn't even the list that has 11. But the last time I saw this, it had 4 Cast Down, 4 Snuff Out, and then like a bunch of Seal of Dooms too, which is crazy. This man is a wild lad. All right, so let's move on to the next. So the second most spicy list by Alex Ullman of the PFP under his creator account, DB Spikeboy M. This is Red White Heroic. So Laguna Band, and then you have Seeker the Way, Sacred Cat, 10th District Legionnaire. It's a haste 2-mana heroic creature, and then Crackling Cyclops. Wow. So there's just a lot of interesting choices here. Johnny's Presence gives any number of target creatures 1/1 and indestructible. Ancestral Anger, God's Willing, gives a protection. Mutagenic Growth, Battle Rage, of course. Thraben Charm, Witch's Mark is kind of sick because You can discard a card, draw 2 cards, and then you create a Wicked Roll target token attached to a creature you control, which is pretty nice in this deck because it targets the creature, giving it +1/+1, and then the Wicked Roll gives it +1/+1. And then they're playing Ethereal Armor. I believe that Alex has a lot of information about this on his Patreon. I'm not privy to that, but you could check that out if you're interested in this list and you wanted to give him props or check out how it runs. The spiciest list by Molax, Mono Green Stompy. It's back. We have Young Wolf, Bayou Groff, and then Hooting Mandrills. Troublemaker Oof as a way to deal with affinity decks, and a lot of things to bargain. Implement of Ferocity, Ichor Wellspring. Then we have 3 Bequeathal to draw some cards. 3 Rancor. Rancor is sweet because when it's in the battlefield, you can bargain it away and get it back. You have Brave the Wilds as another way of using bargaining. If you bargain it, you make target land you control a 3/3 elemental creature with haste that's still land. You search your library for a land and put it in your hand. They have 4 Vines, 3 Ram Through, 4 Malevolent Rumble. And then you can put your counters on your Darksteel Citadel and make it a 3/3 indestructible creature, which is sweet. So I was pretty excited to see that this was a trophy in this week. So let me know what you think about the decks that I covered and whether or not you think the PFP is going to make any changes. Hopefully you enjoyed. We'll see you in the next video.